Okay, Matthew Swinnerton here from Event Santa Cruz, and I'm here with Jase and Genoa Brown. How you doing?
Good. How you
Hi,
doing?
hello.
It's 8 o'clock in the morning. You guys should be sleepy.
Yeah, we never sleep at 8 in the morning.
No,
Yeah.
no, you have a child. It doesn't happen. Um, I, I feel like, I have 3 kids, but no, I'm a lot older than you guys, and I feel like now I can sleep a little bit.
Uh huh.
There's a little bit of time.
Uh-huh.
Um, Okay, so I want to talk about quite a few things, but this is kind of an ongoing series that we're doing where we're having couples in music, which is in Santa Cruz. I feel like, in general, that's the not the norm. Yeah, like you don't usually have 2 couples together that are
Uh
actually like making music, and I think that's really cool because you have 2 creatives
huh.
in the same space, even though
Uh-huh.
it's not exactly the same space. Kind
Mhm.
of is, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, but let's start off with like your musical journeys individually. Genoa, how about you? Let's like, how did you get? And I feel like we just did this 2 weeks ago because I
Yeah.
interviewed you
Hey.
individually. But for the people that didn't see that interview but should, how did you get into music?
Well, I was really super fortunate to have a really musical family. And I think I said, like, not in a sense, not in a professional sense necessarily, but um, just everybody singing all the time and like making up songs and encouraging that in me all the time. My godmother gave me or gave us a piano when I was a kid, and so like plinking around on piano, and then I think when I kind of exhausted the tools that I had at the time, my creative tools, I told my parents pretty directly that I wanted some formal instruction. I was like, I want to make a real song. I want to like do this for real, and so I started getting piano lessons from this really sweet lady named Lynn, and we used to do lessons over at the church, not Twin Lakes, but the other church by Cabrillo, kind of on the other by the freeway, and took piano lessons for a while and had an incredible music teacher at Mountain Elementary School, is where I went to elementary school, and learned all kinds of stuff with this really amazing teacher, Madeline. And just from there, it just kind of took off. And I always stuck with it and was encouraged to stick with it by all my family. Like whether it was my grandparents being like, "You should be on American Idol," or whatever. Everybody was always really loving and encouraging.
Did
And
you ever try to do something like that?
oh no,
Oh
I
no.
was like, it was so not my
Yeah.
thing, and especially when I started to find out that there was like contracts involved and creative limitations, things like that, it was such a hard no for me.
That's what usually frustrates the musicians. We
Yeah.
have local ones that have done that route, and they are worse. The frustration I've seen with them, it's ridiculous. They are just like,
Yeah.
yeah, they're not happy anymore. Almost.
Uh huh.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. And I don't want that for myself creatively. It's something, making music is too precious to me. And I've played a lot of music, throughout my career, especially when I was younger, that I didn't really care for, or didn't feel like a fair exchange for my labor, or whatever. And so
like it
I've
felt like a job.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. If it
yeah,
was a job,
yeah.
or maybe some sort of obligation that I was kind of experiencing internally, like, well, I should do this for the experience. I got to pay my dues, and this whole
Yeah.
pay your dues culture and pay to play culture, all these like toxic parts of entertainment and arts culture, um, where people should be being paid,
Yeah, yeah.
and doing things that they enjoy. And but now I'm in a place in my life that I feel really good about my music making, and I'm happy with my choices creatively, and getting more and more happy about my choices financially
I, I, I
around it.
I love that we talked about last time is you you your life is basically making music.
Oh yeah.
That's what you do. That is your job.
Yep.
But you've pointed in a point of where it's not a job where like I don't like this, but creatively you're able to work with other people. You're able to make the music you want. Which that's a lot of years to get to that point.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's still a struggle.
Growing.
But
Yeah.
but you do get to wake up and make music.
Yes.
Today you got to wake up and listen to an interview with me. But
That's
me asking
fine.
questions.
It's okay. I'm getting ready to go on a tour. I'm leaving tomorrow on a tour, so I'm it's all good.
Real fast. I want to know though. Where is that? Where are you going on tour and with who?
So I'm going on tour with Azza, led by Fatah Abu. We're going to be touring throughout Morocco and then also in France. So that's where we're going.
That is amazing.
It's going to be really fun.
You're going to Morocco tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm going to Morocco tomorrow. And then I have like such incredible, I co-own and run Everyone's Music School. And everybody's holding it down, and all my students are really excited about it too. And it's a really cool thing to be able to be a music teacher, but then also be like, here's different things that you can do with this music. You can be teaching it, you can be doing this kind of community event, or you can be curating music for events, or you can like travel the world and make music. So I love being able to model that for the kids that I teach.
I think that's really cool because I know for me, sometimes what I do events and marketing stuff, but sometimes I enjoy talking to people that do that.
Yeah.
Like and trying to help them more. It's like sometimes I'll have meetings with people or mentor meetings, and I'm more excited for what they're doing than what I'm doing sometimes. And I can bet that translates to you with your students. Sometimes they're like, oh, look at what you're doing, or like they created something for the first time, or like, yeah, that is really cool.
Yeah.
Which I feel like that's Chase, we're going to talk about that soon with you somewhat too. But let's get into your like genesis of starting music. What was the origin?
Ooh, the origins. I mean, much like Genoa, I grew up in a house that really loved music. My sister collected records that we would listen. My mom too collected records that we would listen to, and I would scratch up, trying to scratch on our turntable at home. Then we also went to church, which was also very musical. And then I went to I started learning the trumpet. I think like 5th grade I started learning trumpet at school.
So did I.
Yeah. That was my first instrument. I would go on to like the tuba and the trombone. But I also always wrote little poems and raps and stuff. And for me, that's also a part of it. I was very much involved in slam poetry scene. Excuse me. Most locally in certain places like Portland, Maine, Seattle. I've done some poetry events here. I've gone to.
Wait, did you live in those places? Too?
Yeah.
So you're from Brooklyn.
Yeah.
So you moved around.
Oh yeah, I've moved around quite a bit. I used to hitchhike all over this country.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, and that's how I first got to Santa Cruz. Actually, a ride picked me up in Moab, Utah, and brought me here
Oh my goodness.
in 2000.
Okay. And you just like, okay, I guess I'll stay here for a while.
Yeah, I did. I stayed here for 2 years that first time.
Yeah.
And then I went back east for a while, and then I moved to Europe for a few years. And in Europe, I was in a few bands as a rapper. I was touring around, rapping with different bands, and then upon returning, when I was coming back into the United States, I was like, I got to go back to Santa Cruz. I had always wanted to come back here because, mainly because of the weather and how beautiful it is here. And I was just, ever since coming here and living here those first 2 years, I was just like, I got to go back. And so, yeah, I felt like the perfect opportunity for me to come back. And that's what I did. Came back in 13. And I've been here ever since then, solid.
So what was your idea of the music scene? You can be honest. In Santa Cruz, like, Did you feel like there was a music scene? Did you feel like it needed a little kick in the butt? Like, what was your ideas? Because, I mean, this is you're a musician. You come to this place.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think that it's an interesting thing about me. I don't I I didn't even call myself an artist back then.
Okay.
You know, now I was definitely doing all kinds of artistic things. I mean, besides music, I was also an avid dancer, break dance especially. That's something that I did a lot. And I practiced all of basically the hip hop arts, whether it be graffiti, breaking, rapping, DJing. I did all of those things. And so that's what I was more focused on when I got here. I was like, who's doing those things? And when I came here to Santa Cruz the first time in 2000, I ran right into that community. And so that's what I was more involved in. But I mean, I was doing other things too. I remember the reggae scene for here being really popular.
It
It was
was.
called
Yeah.
Rasta Cruz back then.
Yeah.
And I remember going to the Moe's. I think it was like Monday or Tuesday nights would be reggae night, and it just being packed. Yeah.
Okay, so how did then you two converge? How did this happen?
That was an interesting story. You want to tell it?
Yeah, I'll start. So, I mean, we had mutual friends in Santa Cruz, and it's crazy because we've had these we have these connections and know like so many of the same people, but like hadn't crossed paths officially until much later. But we both knew like Pita Sandy, and so and DJ Trini. So he's my family on my mom's side is from Trinidad and Tobago, and so there was that kind of familial connection and lineage connection, and then we both knew Lex. We both knew Teo, who's a really phenomenal lyricist and rapper who doesn't live in Santa Cruz now, but kind of lives all over. And so we had all these mutuals for many, many years. And then I knew of him, this was probably about 15, 16 years ago. Knew about him, and I'd listened to his music, and
At this point, you didn't know her then.
we knew
You
Kind of knew
of each other.
of each other, yeah.
And and I had heard his music, but I had this, I had like really low self-esteem at the time, and so I was just like, wow, this man is like so incredible. He's so skilled, so talented, so handsome, so beautiful, whatever.
I was gonna say, there was attraction.
I was like, I mean, come on. But it was like I didn't even go there in my mind. Like I didn't even get to like, oh, he could never want me. Like the thought that I didn't even get that far. Like it was just that there was just no thought in my mind that there would be any interest, or that there would be opportunity, because I was a new mom of my oldest at the time, and you were in Germany, I think the first time we ever like messaged each other or something. And so we like messaged each other here and there, like, love your music, or that's cool, or oh yeah, so and so too. We kind of had some of those. And then
Is this like text, or this is like on
Facebook.
Instagram,
Facebook
or
Messenger on Facebook.
Yeah.
And then two really good mutual friends, Pat Miller and Will Rice, who are both from Santa Cruz and incredible musicians and producers among them, in and of themselves, wanted to do a project and have him rapping on it. So they called me, and they were like, hey, you want to do some like vocals and some saxophone and whatever instrumentation on this. And then we kind of found out that we were going to be working on the same music project. And he had been in all over Europe and mostly had been living in Brussels. And so he had come to the East Coast and was still kind of figuring out where it was he wanted to go. And that project kind of popped up. And he was like, okay, I guess I'm going to the Bay Area. because they were had moved up to Oakland. And so, so we found out we were working on the same music project, so we started talking a lot, and we were Skyping.
So this is before.
But you know what?
Yeah.
Let me say though, like, okay, so my perspective of this whole
Yeah, I would
thing
hear that. Yeah.
was I was in Germany with our friend Teo, who I met here in Santa Cruz, and I was touring around Germany with Teo. We doing these rapping in these little clubs and stuff, but he was showing me, you know, all of his friends' music and everything, and he showed me an album cover with her on it. And I was just like, yo, I was like, who is that one right there? And he was just like, dude, like, she just had a baby from some dude. And I was just like, oh, word, oh, man, she's cute. And that's what, I mean, but seriously, from the first moment I saw her, I was like, wow.
I love how there was like instant attraction from both sides, not knowing. Like,
Yeah.
not communicating that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, you know, that was probably a solid, like, I don't know, 2 years before we would ever meet face to face.
Oh wow.
Before I came back. That's because in all, I was in Europe for like 3.5 years.
Okay.
And so, like she said, I came back to the East Coast. I came back before I went to Europe, I was living in Maine. And,
You've lived in so many places.
dude, when I came back to Maine, it was winter too. And I was just like, why the fuck did I come back here, dude? I got to go somewhere else. And then, like she said, Will and Pat hit me up, and they were like, we got this project. And I was just like, oh, yeah, the Bay Area, Santa Cruz. And so,
that sounds better.
yeah,
Weather-wise.
so it's a lot better. And so, that's when I came back.
Okay, so I want to know the time when this actually happens. Like, when is it actually like we're talking? Like, okay, let's do this, or who said who first? What happened?
So we met basically at the studio.
Yeah.
To start recording this project, and I was so nervous upon seeing him like in person. I could barely.
Nervous for him because you're
I
with
was
him
yes.
Or the project? Okay, him.
About him meeting him. I was so nervous because we had talked so much and we'd been Skyping and I was already like freaking out. I was like, oh my God, like there's this guy and I think he likes me. Like I don't even know what to do about that, you know, because I'd been single for a little while and I was, you know, coming out and just finding kind of me again, you know, out of our relationship and so I was really, really nervous, and I feel like I barely said like 2 words, like.
Which is funny because you were Skyping, so you're probably talking a lot.
Yeah.
We was talking a lot.
We were talking a lot, and then when we saw each other in person, it was
She's
just like.
It's a different dynamic. So like,
I was freaking out.
Wait, even when you were Skyping, did you mention that you guys were attracted to each other at all? Like, was there some?
Yeah.
There was some flirting.
There was definitely flirting happening.
For sure.
So you knew it. So when you saw each other.
I was like, oh no, it's real.
Yeah, it's real. Yeah. We can touch here.
Yeah, totally. And so, so that was basically it. Like I got less and less shy.
We've basically been together
We've been together since that
since
day.
meeting at the studios.
Yeah.
Was there like a moment that you're like, okay, we're a couple, or something? Do you know, or it just was?
There was this one time we went and saw Black Star in Oakland, and that felt like a very coupley.
Like a date.
Yeah.
And
cool.
so my oldest son's name is Umi, and so they performed the song, of course, Umi Says, because Yasin Bey, formerly Mos Def, has a song called Umi Says, and I always love that song. And I have this whole narrative that I've created where it feels like it's a kind of a connection to my grandfather, and so anyway, I remember them starting to play that song, and he was like, oh, like it's your like song, and just that thoughtfulness,
Yeah.
that he was showing this like tenderness for my son, and like he's showing this care towards things that are like
That's important.
sweet and important and have meaning.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was this woman who was like, you guys are such a beautiful couple. You guys are so beautiful together. And I remember just being like, I think we are. Oh, and I had worn these shoes, these terrible shoes.
You
There
did.
were this like I was wearing these terrible high heels, and we were walking from the hotel, and we made it like a block and a half, and I was like hanging on him as we were walking because I could barely walk in these shoes, and he was like, like, do you have some other shoes you can wear? He's like, we need to go back to the hotel. You're like not gonna last the night. And I was like, okay.
These were like 3-inch heels she had on.
Do you still have those heels?
No. They went in
She
the
could
trash
barely
after that.
walk in. I was like, you gonna dance all night in
This
those
is not
shoes?
gonna work.
No.
And then that's kind of where it went. And then we've had, since then, just all different kinds of things happen in our lives. And we had a child together. So we have our children from other relationships, and then we have our son together. And so this kind of blended family, blended project, blended skill set life, where we're co-parenting, like our co-parenting extension is like really, really long. It's like from Shauna all the way over to like Isaac and Katie, and like it's like this whole fan of co-parenting happening, and yeah, and being artists on top of all that family and all that life,
So it'll be a 10-year anniversary this year, right?
Yeah.
10-year
Okay.
wedding anniversary.
Yeah, 10-year
12
wedding
I
anniversary.
think in March we're like together for 12 years.
Yeah.
Is there certain dates that like one of you remembers more? Like, are you like, oh, it's March 10th when that concert happened or something?
He remembers our getting together date, and I remember our wedding date
Yeah.
more.
The wedding date's the easy one.
Yeah.
Come on.
It is.
I'm that
I
way
somehow
too.
forget it all the time though.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay,
I know it's in August
Okay, so
sometimes.
that's maybe not the right one.
First.
August 21st, see?
2015.
I'm the same way with my wife. Like, okay, I remember the date we met, and I remember the date we kind of got together, which is basically we just talked on the phone for 6 hours. We're like, okay, I guess this is it. Yeah. And then the wedding. So I remember those, and I always like to do something for her, or say just so like, because she never remembers those. So
Yeah.
2 times a year. Okay, so as a musical, I mean, you have this extended collaboration of the things you've done together. Musically, I want to know about the struggles of you're going on a trip soon, you're going on a trip tomorrow. How do you do that as creatives? And also, how do you give each other space to be creative? Because that's not easy. Because even just, let alone kids, a couple, that takes a lot of work. Together.
It does.
And like support and, and me time. But how does that all work where you guys give each other enough space to do that?
You want me to go first?
I asked
Well,
Abby one day
You
in the
wanna go
morning.
first?
Yeah.
I mean, we do have a great community of folks, that hold us down, everywhere from our Genoa's parents to folks who live in our actual community. We live here at the tannery, and we all hold each other down. Also, when it comes to like her band, like she's been in this band pretty much for as long as we've been
together, yeah.
together. And I have by way of Afrobeats Night and other vehicles, I've booked their band several times over the years and performed along with them. And so that is if there's a closeness there, I think, because of my involvement also with that band, that I think just allows me to want to be as helpful as possible and making sure that happens.
Is there a struggle in that?
There's definitely it's been challenging to find a balance, but like I think what it, I don't know, for me what it boils down to is that like I trust and believe in his art, and I want to support that growth. And so it's like, okay, like what do we got to do to like make this all happen? And so it's like the kids are like, okay, like I want to be on the soccer team, or I want to be in this dance class, or I want to da da da. And we have such an incredibly rich community where it's like all of these things are accessible if it's something that we all work towards. Right here at the tannery,
Yeah.
right? York takes how many
Like three dancers.
three dance classes a week. He does modern ballet and hip hop. He plays soccer with Santa Cruz City youth soccer. My teenager plays soccer at school and does band at school. Like it's, there's everything is happening right here, the community and the creativity. But I think it has been a challenge, and we've had to have like really tough conversations. Like, okay, like how's this gonna work? Like I've sent texts out to like a million moms, like, okay, you guys, like Jay's is leaving town, like who can like York get a ride to school with him in the morning on this day, that day, that day, and like who can like da da da. So coordinating, so much coordinating.
Yes.
But it's for me is worthwhile.
How about just like the mental space? Because as creatives, sometimes you get like very engulfed in the creativity in what's going on. A song you're making, something, an event you're putting on, and it's almost like, I don't know. For me, I get so engulfed in my head, and sometimes like I'm not thinking about everything else. Yeah, is that a challenge sometimes? Because I feel like as creatives, you do need that time, and also when the spark happens, you need to have the time to kind of birth it.
Yeah.
So is that a challenge somewhat to kind of like, okay, Genoa needs this moment. Yeah, or like, yeah, I mean like, or it's like, hey, but we haven't been together in 2 weeks. I want to see you or something.
I mean, I'm also, I always make beats and stuff upstairs, and I'm always like, I just ask her what she thinks about whatever it is I'm doing, or ask her if she can come and lay down some kind of chord or
It's
something
really
like that. It's just,
integrated in our
yeah,
in our everyday lives, and I think I said in the other time we spoke, like I had to figure out a way, like when I was a new mom, I had to figure out a way to like still have this music in my life. And so I started teaching like early childhood music education. I started teaching with Musical Me with Liz Wyrock, and so I had like a child on me, and I have like studio recordings where it's like I have a newborn that's like kind of fussing in the background, or a baby that's fussing in the ground in the background. So the like creativity is, I feel like, is integrated into our daily lives all the time. Where like you said, you'll be making a beat, and I'm like sitting on the couch reading, or I'm like making lunch for everybody or something, and then he's like, hey, like this needs a bass line. And then like I'll walk over and he'll be like kind of something like and like kind of give me a little idea, and then I'm like what about like this? And so our studio is right there, like in our house, and
So it's just life.
it's life.
Yeah.
Yeah, just life. That is
Yeah.
really cool. But so you guys engineered that
Yeah.
subconsciously, consciously. That's just what we do as a family.
yeah.
Yep.
And the boys, they're always walking around like, tinkering on the piano, or they have little flutes and recorders, and yeah,
They'll remember that.
it's
That is
always
such a
happening.
cool, like, yeah, a cool family life that they'll remember. Like there was always music and creativity in the house, and that whatever they do, that's definitely going to affect them. Yeah, have a good foundation. It's cool.
Or I'll be like sitting watching a show, and like one of them will walk up to me with like some instrument, like, oh, how do you play this? And I'll be like this, and then I'll like noodle a little something, or like, oh, show me how to do that real quick, and then I will, and then like you'll hear the whole rest of the night, like the kids like noodling a little melody. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I want to talk about. I mean, I feel like we have to talk about your projects that you do, and I think projects is a bad term, but like, okay, Afrobeats night is like become super epic thing in Santa Cruz. Like everybody knows Afrobeats night now. What was the genesis behind that? What was like, I'm gonna start this?
Man, that's a interesting question. The well, so it was 2022, right? When I asked, when I first, well, when not when I first approached Woodhouse, I had been trying to like get in to Woodhouse ever since they opened in
Okay.
like 2019, and then of course the pandemic happened, and but I had gone by there several times, and I was like, I would see Tug, and I would talk to him. I sent them messages on Instagram and stuff. And anyway, so it was well, actually, in the fall of 21, I got a job over at what's it called UPS, doing during the holiday season. You know, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning going to work, dude, and loading trucks. And did that throughout the holiday season. And so it was like in April of 22, and I was like really getting tired of the job. And I gave my 2 weeks notice. And then I went back into work one night, and I worked a little bit. And during break, I went to my supervisor, and I was like, you know what? I know I gave my 2 weeks, notice, but like I actually cannot stand being here like another moment. So like all due respect, I gotta go right now.
Yeah.
And so
When he
I
came
can,
back home that morning, I was like, what are you doing here?
I was like I could not do it. And so that day I went to Woodhouse because I've been DJing all my life, and that's what I wanted to do. And so I went to Tug at Woodhouse, and I was just like, dude, look, I want to do something here where I play nothing but African pop music, Afro beats, and yeah, and it'll be a vibe. And like his eyes like lit up at that moment. He was just like, dude, that's a great idea. And he was like, you want to try it Thursday? And I was just like, what?
Okay, I was thinking like in a month away.
And I was just like, yeah, let's do it. And so did it the first night. It was like 50 people there maybe. And it was cool. It was a vibe. They liked it,
First night, 50 people. That's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. And then so he was like, yeah, let's do it every other week. And I was like, cool. And then I was talking to Joey over at Abbott Square, and I was like, dude, I got this great new gig, blah blah blah. I'm doing Afro beats on Thursdays and every other Thursday, and I was telling him, and he was just like, whoa, that sounds really cool. He was like, would you want to do it every other Thursday here? And I was just like, yeah, shit, why not? And that's literally how it developed. It wasn't like any master plan by me, but yeah. So it turned into this weekly event from April through October. I think that first year we went from April all the way to December,
Okay,
weekly. And yeah, I mean, the enthusiasm of the community and coming out, and people coming out to dance, and just like showing their love, and actually communing. That has literally been a dream of mine, to be part of something like that. So I mean, and that's why we keep it free, open to the public. We have sponsors that help us, local businesses that help us, as far as being able to pay myself and all of the other talent. I call in, I had like 14 different DJs in 2024 that came through, and I paid all of them. And two different dance companies. Last year, we also did our second dance workshop, because there is a language of dance that does accompany Afrobeats music, and brought these two experts in. We're going to do that again soon. Yeah, Afrobeats Night has become my full-time job.
That is awesome. Way better than, stacking shit.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
And that's you're 2025 still going strong?
Yeah, we're still going strong. I'm in the process of programming the summer right now, and it is looking very, very cool.
Nice,
Very
cool.
exciting. Yeah.
Okay, Genoa, how about you? But so, when you think your main thing right now, what is it? You have two actually main things.
Yeah, three main
Three.
things.
Oh, yeah, three. Four main things. No.
So, I mean, my main thing is my family, right? It's like is us as our unit.
Beat you.
No. And then Azah and the school, right? And so I think all of those things kind of all feed each other. Right? Like I love my family, and my family feeds and supports me, and then I feed and support them. The school keeps me in contact with the community. It keeps me always wanting to learn new ways of kind of teaching music and learning how people understand music. I love having that insight with the community, and being able to kind of form curriculum that is accessible by many different learning styles, right? And it's also really validating for me because my learning style did not really gel very well with westernized music kind of learning styles. It took me a really long time to understand the theory, to understand. I could hear everything. I did everything by ear. I basically was caught that I had been faking the entire time, like when I got to college. And it was like, oh, you don't really know how to read music, or like you did all this by ear this whole time. And I was like, oh, yeah, I did. And so when I started playing with Azah, I remember listening to music and I was like, oh my goodness. I was like, this is really hard music. I was like, if they have charts of these, I'm gonna scream. Like if I'm gonna have to read some sheet music of this, I cannot. And I got there and they were like, okay, it goes like this. And I was like, yes. I was like, yes. I was like, I can do this. I was like, I can do this. And then the music is just so beautiful that and so challenging that I was like, oh, this is fun. This is really fun. And then it became an extension of my family. And so has the school, and so has the community. That's what's most important to me. Is like when I'm working on a project with someone, that it's fun and beautiful and cool and something I want to do. And then also that there is a solid relationship there. Even if it's like a very professional thing and I'm like, there's a contract, if there's something doesn't feel right with somebody, I'm like, ugh, I don't
go with that.
I don't want to do that. But if it's it has to tick those boxes for me. Does it feel like family? Is it fun and interesting? Is it going to pay me well? Is it going to, is it going to be supportive of my family, my home life, and my personal growth?
Yeah. So it sounds more like it's not four things, but it's just kind of one thing.
It's just one thing.
Just one thing, yeah.
Yeah.
And that just has arms or like that. You just do you, and And I feel like the same thing with you too. I mean, it's not just Afrobeats night that you do. Yeah. I want to ask you two last questions. One, and we didn't really even talk about what we were going to talk about really before. I didn't give you a list of questions, so I'm sorry. I'm going to throw this on you. But what advice, can you think of any point of advice, I know you're like, oh, what's he going to ask? That you can give creative couples? Is there something that you think would be any advice? And if you don't have it, it's totally fine. And I'll just pop it out of this video. Yeah. Is there any advice you could give?
Yeah, I don't know that I would give anybody advice about their coupling in particular.
That's a good
But
point.
yeah,
That's a
like
good-
not yeah, I think it's more like just communicate. That's something that I'm always just
Yeah.
trying to work on.
It's
Just
like
talk about what your
that's what
needs are.
relating is, right?
Yeah, yeah. Just talk about what you want and just be clear about what you want and see how it can all work. Like okay, like there's all these puzzle pieces floating around. Like how can they all
Yeah.
kind of come together?
It comes down to the basics.
Yeah.
It's always, yeah. I feel like in life, a lot of times that is. It doesn't have to be that complicated. Like, just communicate.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is, and that has a lot of intricacies too.
I
But
think
yeah.
most of my personal struggle has been like kind of outside opinions sometimes. Like it took me a while to kind of shed that to be like, oh, it's okay what I'm doing because it's like everybody's fine, and this is what we want to
Yeah.
do.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, I want to talk about your trip in February.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell us about your first trip and why you're coming back.
Yeah. So yeah, my first trip ever to West Africa was last March, and I went because Ghana is like where the modern Afro beats movement is given credit for starting. And just wanted to go check. I've been wanting to go to West Africa for my whole life, especially also since finding out you know my genetic lineage comes from there as well. So yeah, went there, and before leaving, I connected with a friend who knows some people over there, and he put me in touch with a woman who is also originally from California, but has been spending a lot of time over there. And she actually just became a naturalized citizen of Ghana. But she runs this organization called the Universal Family Network. And over there, it's an NGO that does community service work, particularly with children. And they do after school programs and bring resources over there to help the children in that area. So I got a chance to meet the children and hang out with them, and we talked a lot about music and yeah, and upon leaving, I realized that I wanted to do more with these kids. They had shared so much music. I asked them particularly, what music they were listening to, and we would spend hours at a time watching music videos, pulling up music, and so when it came time for me to leave, I was just like, oh man, that can't be it. Like, I want to do so much more with you guys, and so that's when the idea was like, yo, dude, I can come back here and like show them how I DJ. And yeah, I brought the idea to Victoria, the woman who runs the organization, and she's been all about it. And we've been coordinating, for this past almost year to make sure it happens. And so, yeah, I'm doing a fundraiser right now through Fractured Atlas, which is the organization that fiscally sponsors Afrobeats Night. And on the 24th and 25th of January, we will be having a fundraising show featuring Pacific Voices, which is a local choir directed by Krista Barriessa that we're looking forward to help us, raise the funds needed to send this equipment over there, get me over there, do all the logistical things to make sure this thing goes off.
What's the date and what location is that?
January 24th and 25th at the 418 Project
Okay, cool.
in Santa Cruz.
So we'll put all the links to the bottom there, but
Yeah.
so we can help. It's really not a lot of funds you need, but together, if everybody gets a little bit together,
Yeah.
you could get to your goal.
Uh-huh.
So awesome. I don't know. I just think you guys are super inspirational because I don't know, like people don't think about. I could go to West Africa.
Uh-huh.
I could tour to Morocco. I could have a life. I could have a family. I could create a life of music. I don't know. I just think like it's a challenge to keep your passion and grow with responsibilities in life. And I think you guys have pulled it off. Not that it's easy, but you know, you guys are doing one step at a time, and like that keeps you young and excited, and you know, passionate about life. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's pretty awesome.
Totally.
Yeah, you guys did
My
good.
girl. My girl.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank
Thank you.
you.